I gave up my parents' home to start a new life with her in the city. She mocked my trust and fell for a man who couldn't even pay his rent. Before watching the video, please tell us in the comments, which country are you watching from? My name is Ryan Callahan, and I am 34 years old. I believed love was built on trust, that honesty would always win. But one message changed everything, and that night, I learned what real betrayal looks like. 5 years of marriage. That milestone meant something to me. I wanted to make it unforgettable. I'd been planning our anniversary dinner for weeks, making sure everything was perfect. The restaurant, the gift, the surprise. Emma always loved little gestures, so I made sure every detail showed how much she meant to me. Our life looked stable from the outside. We lived in a cozy apartment downtown, with enough comfort to feel proud. I worked long hours at a logistics firm, while she freelanced as a designer from home. We didn't have much, but I thought we had enough. Enough love, enough patience, enough loyalty. She had been distant lately, though. Shorter replies, less laughter. Her phone always locked, her smile always distracted. I blamed it on stress. Everyone goes through rough patches, right? I told myself it was just a phase. I'd fix it. I'd remind her how lucky we were to have each other. That's why I went all out. I called her favorite restaurant, the one overlooking the city lights. I booked a private table, ordered the exact wine she loved, and even arranged for a musician to play her favorite song. I wanted her to feel the same spark we had on our wedding night. I also bought her a necklace, gold, simple, elegant, engraved with the words, "Forever, no matter what." Those words felt heavy even then, though I didn't know why. I wrapped it in velvet and placed it in a small silver box. Just looking at it made me smile. When I told her about the dinner, she looked surprised. "Oh," she said softly. "That's nice." Her voice was flat, like she'd forgotten what romance felt like. I brushed it off. Maybe she was tired. Maybe work had worn her down. Still, something about her eyes lingered in my mind. They didn't light up like before. The night before our anniversary, she stayed up late in the living room, typing fast on her phone. I kissed her goodnight and said, "Don't stay up too late." She barely looked up. "I won't," she murmured. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling and told myself everything was fine. Tomorrow would be the day I'd fix it all. I had no idea that by the next evening, every truth I believed in would fall apart. The morning of our anniversary started like any other day. Emma made coffee, scrolled through her phone, and barely looked at me. I tried not to notice, keeping my mind on the dinner plans. I thought maybe tonight would bring us closer again. Maybe she'd finally look at me the way she used to. But fate doesn't warn you before it breaks you. Around noon, I came home early to grab my phone charger. Emma was in the shower, and her tablet was open on the couch. She used it for work, so I didn't think twice until a message preview flashed on the screen. It read, "Last night was incredible. Can't wait to see you again, babe." I froze. My hands went cold. I stared at the name, Dylan Reese. The message disappeared, but my heart didn't stop pounding. I sat down slowly, every instinct screaming not to open it. But love and pain share one thing. They both demand to be understood. I tapped the screen, and her messages filled the display. There they were, photos, inside jokes, late-night plans. He wasn't just some stranger. He was her secret, her escape, the man she'd been giving her heart to while I was busy trying to keep our life together. Every word hit harder than the last. He doesn't suspect a thing. You make me feel alive again. He's just too predictable. That line broke me. Predictable. That's what I was to her. A routine, a paycheck, a safe place to return to when the thrill ended. I'd given her stability. She traded it for excitement with a man who couldn't even keep a steady job. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. My throat felt tight, my hands shaking as I scrolled through weeks of betrayal. There were voice notes too, her laughter, sweet and careless, the same laugh I thought belonged to me. When she stepped out of the shower, I quickly closed the tablet and acted calm. She smiled, towel around her hair, asking, "Why are you home so early?" I lied. Just forgot something. She didn't notice the storm behind my smile. After she left for her appointment, I sat there in silence. My pulse slowed, my mind clearing. The pain didn't disappear, but it shifted from heartbreak to focus. I copied everything. Screenshots, messages, photos. I saved every single lie she had written. I looked at her smiling face on our wedding photo hanging on the wall and whispered, "You wanted excitement, Emma. Then let's make this anniversary unforgettable." That was the moment the plan began. Quiet, deliberate, and sharp. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to make her reveal herself in front of the one man she thought was worth losing me for. I spent that entire afternoon staring at our wedding picture, Her smile mocked me. Every memory now felt poisoned. Every laugh, every promise, every night we spent planning our future. I thought I knew her, but the woman I loved had become a stranger, wearing my wife's face. I kept replaying her messages in my head, each word louder than the last. He's too predictable. You make me feel alive. He'll never find out. Every line turned love into humiliation. I wasn't angry yet. Not fully. I was numb, drowning in disbelief that something so beautiful had been built on lies. I thought about confronting her right then, throwing the tablet on the table, demanding answers, shouting the truth in her face. But what would that do? She'd cry, she'd lie again, and I'd end up the fool who forgave too easily. No, she had laughed behind my back for months. I wouldn't give her the power to twist this. I needed control, I needed proof, and I needed patience. That night, she came home smiling. "Are we still on for dinner tonight?" she asked sweetly, wrapping her arms around me. I nodded and kissed her forehead. My heart didn't even flinch this time. "Of course," I said. "It's our big night." She had no idea that while she was planning what dress to wear, I was planning something far different. I spent hours thinking about it. How to make her face her own betrayal. I didn't want revenge through pain. I wanted revenge through truth. I wanted her to watch her lies fall apart, with her lover sitting right beside her. Before bed, she was on her phone again. I glanced over and asked softly, "Who are you texting so late?" She smiled, quick and nervous. "Just my client," she replied. "We're finalizing a project." I smiled too. "That's good. You always work so hard." She kissed my cheek and whispered, "You're the best husband." The irony almost made me laugh. I'd have been proud of that sentence once. Now, it sounded like a line from a bad play, and I finally realized I was the only one in the audience who didn't know it was fiction. That night, I barely slept. My mind ran through every detail, every move I'd make. She'd walked through fire thinking it was fun. Now, I was going to let her feel the heat she'd lit herself. Because sometimes, silence isn't forgiveness. It's the sound of revenge learning to breathe. What would you do if someone you loved betrayed you like this? Comment below. The morning after discovering the truth, I woke up strangely calm. The anger was gone. What replaced it was colder, a stillness that almost scared me. Emma hummed in the kitchen, frying eggs and scrolling her phone, as if nothing had happened. The woman who ruined everything still smiled like a saint. I sat across from her, studying every movement, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the way her eyes sparkled when she lied. I wondered how long she'd been rehearsing this act, how many times she'd looked me in the eye and pretended love. Every moment she smiled now only strengthened my resolve. After breakfast, I kissed her cheek and whispered, "I'm taking the day off. Want to spend some time together later?" She smiled faintly. "Oh, I can't today," she said quickly. "I've got a client call and some errands." I nodded slowly. "Of course, sweetheart. You always work so hard." She didn't notice the way my voice tightened on the last word. The moment she left, I opened my laptop. I searched for Dylan Reese. His name wasn't hard to find. Local musician, part-time bar performer, and full-time dreamer. The kind who lived off promises he'd never keep. I scrolled through his photos, each one more pathetic than the last. And that's when it hit me. The perfect idea. I sent Dylan a message from a new account. I told him I was planning a surprise anniversary dinner for Emma, a romantic evening to celebrate 5 years of love, and I wanted him to be part of it. "It'll mean a lot to her," I wrote. "She talks about you often." Within minutes, he replied, "Really? Wow. Sure thing, man. She didn't tell me, but I'd love to come." I smiled for the first time in days. That night, I acted normal, kinder, softer even. I brought her flowers, cooked dinner, and asked about her day. She talked endlessly, laughing between bites, completely unaware that the ground beneath her was already cracking. When she kissed me goodnight, I kissed her back, steady and controlled. The next morning, I confirmed our reservation at the restaurant, her favorite spot, the one with the skyline view. I called the manager and requested 2 extra seats, one for me, one for her, and one for the man she thought was her secret. I looked at myself in the mirror before bed. The reflection staring back wasn't angry anymore. It was composed, deliberate, dangerous. She thought she was winning, that she could juggle lies forever. But what she didn't know was that I wasn't broken anymore. I was ready. Our anniversary dinner wouldn't be about love. It would be about truth. Finally sitting at the table beside us, the night of our anniversary arrived, glowing with quiet anticipation. I wore my best suit, the one she bought me years ago when she still looked at me with pride. Emma appeared from the bedroom in a sleek black dress, the same one she wore on our honeymoon. She looked stunning. The kind of beautiful that made me remember why I fell for her. But tonight, I didn't see my wife. I saw a liar rehearsing for her last performance. We drove in silence, the soft hum of the car filling the space between us. She checked her reflection every few minutes, fixing her lipstick, adjusting her earrings, smiling at herself in the mirror. I could almost hear her thoughts, how perfect the night would be, how easily she could keep her act alive. I let her believe it. The restaurant glowed with golden light, every table surrounded by laughter and clinking glasses. She looked around, delighted. "You remembered," she whispered, touching my arm. "Of course," I said. "I never forget what matters." The waiter led us to a corner table with a view of the city skyline. Everything looked perfect, just as I'd planned. Halfway through dinner, she leaned in. "You've been quiet tonight," she said softly. I smiled, just thinking about how far we've come. She nodded, her eyes softening. For a moment, I almost forgot the messages, the lies, the betrayal. Then, I saw her phone light up in her purse. I didn't need to check. I already knew who it was. 10 minutes later, the waiter walked toward our table. "Mr. Callahan," he said politely, "your final guest has arrived." Emma frowned. "Guest?" she repeated. Before she could say more, Dylan Reese walked in, wearing a wrinkled shirt and a grin that died the moment he saw her. Her fork slipped from her hand. The clatter echoed like thunder. "Ryan," she whispered. "What is this?" I leaned back, my tone calm and sharp. "Happy anniversary, sweetheart. I thought it would be nice for all of us to celebrate together." Dylan stood frozen. "Man, I didn't," he began, but I raised my hand. "Save it," I said. "You've already said enough in your messages." I placed my phone on the table, the screen glowing with their words, their photos, their mockery of my trust. Emma's face turned pale, her eyes wide, searching for any way out. The waiter awkwardly stepped back, realizing this wasn't a celebration. The silence at our table grew heavier than any scream could be. I looked at both of them, the woman who threw away everything, and the man who thought he'd won. For the first time in months, I felt no pain, just clarity. "Eat," I said coldly. "Dinner's on me." Then I smiled, not with love, but with finality. The truth had finally taken its seat at the table. The air around us turned heavy, like the whole restaurant had stopped breathing. Emma's eyes darted between me and Dylan, searching for a way to explain the impossible. But there were no excuses left, no lies that could crawl out of the hole she'd dug. I sat back, my voice calm, steady, and sharp enough to cut through the silence. 5 years, I began softly. 5 years of love, loyalty, and building a life together. And this, I pointed to my phone on the table, glowing with their messages, is what I get in return. Emma's lips trembled. "Ryan, please, it's not what you think." "Oh, it's exactly what I think," I interrupted. "Every text, every late-night client call, every lie you wrapped in a smile. I know it all." Dylan shifted uncomfortably, his cocky grin replaced with regret. "Man, I didn't mean to." I laughed quietly, shaking my head. "You didn't mean to? You met a married woman, took what wasn't yours, and mocked me behind my back. Don't pretend to be the victim now." The people at nearby tables had gone quiet, pretending not to stare. The soft jazz music in the background felt almost cruel, playing over a moment meant for heartbreak. I looked at Emma again. Her face was pale, tears forming in her eyes, mascara streaking down her cheeks. For once, she looked real. Not perfect, not charming, just exposed. I picked up my glass and raised it slightly. "Here's to honesty," I said. "Something you clearly never learned." I took a slow sip, letting every second stretch. "You wanted excitement, Emma. You wanted something different, something new. So here it is, the truth, served cold." She reached across the table, whispering, "Ryan, please, I made a mistake." I smiled faintly. "A mistake?" I leaned forward. "A mistake is forgetting our anniversary, not texting another man in my bed." Dylan stood up, muttering something under his breath, but I stopped him. "Sit down," I said firmly. "You started this. You can stay until it's finished." The waiter returned awkwardly, placing the check beside me. I pulled out a $100 bill, slid it on top, and stood up. I took off my wedding ring and placed it beside the receipt. The metal clinked softly against the table, the sound of something ending. "Consider it paid in full," I said quietly. "Dinner, the lies, the years, all of it." Then I turned, leaving them sitting in their guilt as the city lights shimmered through the window. Behind me, I heard her sob, but I didn't look back. That night, I didn't just walk away from a marriage. I walked toward freedom. If you were in my place, would you forgive or walk away? Tell me in comments. The night after the dinner, I didn't sleep. I sat on the balcony, watching the city lights flicker like fading promises. I thought exposing her would bring relief, but what came instead was silence. Deep, heavy silence. The kind that sits in your chest and refuses to leave. When I came home the next morning, Emma was there. Her eyes were swollen, her voice hoarse. "Ryan," she whispered, stepping closer. "Please, I need to explain. I didn't move. I just looked at her. The woman I once built my world around. Explain what? I asked quietly. That it didn't mean anything? That you made a mistake? She broke down crying, clutching her chest like she could hold her guilt inside. I don't know why I did it, she said between sobs. I felt empty. I thought he cared. I shook my head. You didn't feel empty, Emma. You felt bored, and you filled that boredom by destroying trust. She tried to grab my hand, but I stepped back. That small distance felt like a lifetime between us. I still love you, she whispered desperately. But love built on betrayal isn't love anymore. It's just habit. I told her to leave. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I simply said, pack your things. The next few days were chaos. Friends started calling, pretending to act surprised about what happened, though I knew half of them already heard. Word spreads fast when betrayal gets exposed in public. Dylan's reputation was ruined. The bars he played at stopped booking him after his name started floating around. He messaged me once, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know she was married. I didn't reply. Some mistakes don't deserve forgiveness, only consequences. Emma moved out within a week. Her parents called, trying to mediate, but I was done explaining. I'd spent 5 years explaining myself, my love, my sacrifices. I had nothing left to say. For the first time, I felt free, not happy yet, but free. I focused on work. I hit the gym every morning, ran until my lungs burned, until my thoughts cleared. The pain began to dull, replaced by a strange calm. Revenge wasn't what healed me. Truth did. The truth I forced her to face, the truth I finally accepted myself. A few months later, I saw her walking downtown. She looked smaller somehow, lost in her own regret. She saw me too, but neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. The silence said it all. She'd mocked my trust, and now she was the one haunted by it. As I walked past her, I realized something important. Sometimes revenge isn't about breaking someone down. It's about rebuilding yourself so high that they can never reach you again. And that's exactly what I did. Months passed, and life finally began to breathe again. The scars were still there, invisible but real. Reminders of love turned poison. I moved into a smaller place by the river. Simple, quiet, mine. There was peace in loneliness, a strange kind of freedom I hadn't felt in years. Every morning, I woke up without fear of secrets buzzing on another phone. No fake smiles, no midnight excuses, just silence, the kind that heals instead of hides. I started focusing on my business, working harder, saving money, and spending weekends fixing old cars, something I'd given up when we got married. It felt good to rebuild something that stayed loyal. One evening, I ran into Emma again. She was sitting outside a coffee shop, alone, staring at her phone like it held the ghost of her past. When she saw me, she froze, her eyes filled with recognition and shame. She smiled weakly, as if to say, I'm sorry. I nodded once, but said nothing. Her apology wasn't needed. Her punishment was living with the memory of what she threw away. Later that night, I thought about how much had changed. The man who once begged for her love was gone. The man who believed promises without proof no longer existed. In his place stood someone colder, wiser, and unshakable. I didn't hate her anymore. I pitied her, because she would spend her life chasing the thrill of something new, never realizing that loyalty is the rarest kind of excitement. Friends still asked if I'd ever take her back. I always answered the same way. You can't rebuild trust with the person who taught you how to lose it. They'd nod quietly, maybe even envy how calm I'd become. Truth is, revenge wasn't loud or dramatic. It was walking away while she burned in the silence she created. As the seasons changed, so did I. I started dating again, slowly, carefully. I wasn't looking for perfection anymore, just honesty. Because once you've been betrayed, you learn to value the simple things. A text that means what it says. A promise that stays true. A love that doesn't need hiding. I don't regret exposing her that night. She mocked my trust, and I gave her exactly what she earned. Truth laid bare under golden restaurant lights. I didn't destroy her life. She did that herself. All I did was hand her a mirror and walk away. Now, when I look back, I don't feel bitterness, only strength. Because sometimes the greatest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living better, cleaner, and freer than the one who betrayed you. And that's exactly how I chose to end this story. Not with rage, but with peace. This is how my wife betrayed me. Should I forgive or move on? Tell me in comments. If this story hit home, drop a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe. Your support keeps these real stories alive. ChatGPT can make MI months passed, and life finally began to breathe again. The scars were still there, invisible but real, reminders of love turned poison. I moved into a smaller place by the river, simple, quiet, mine. There was peace in loneliness, a strange kind of freedom I hadn't felt in years. Every morning, I woke up without fear of secrets buzzing on another phone. No fake smiles, no midnight excuses, just silence, the kind that heals instead of hides. I started focusing on my business, working harder, saving money, and spending weekends fixing old cars, something I'd given up when we got married. It felt good to rebuild something that stayed loyal. One evening, I ran into Emma again. She was sitting outside a coffee shop alone, staring at her phone like it held the ghost of her past. When she saw me, she froze, her eyes filled with recognition and shame. She smiled weakly, as if to say, "I'm sorry." I nodded once but said nothing. Her apology wasn't needed. Her punishment was living with the memory of what she threw away. Later that night, I thought about how much had changed. The man who once begged for her love was gone. The man who believed promises without proof no longer existed. In his place stood someone colder, wiser, and unshakable. I didn't hate her anymore. I pitied her, because she would spend her life chasing the thrill of something new, never realizing that loyalty is the rarest kind of excitement. Friends still asked if I'd ever take her back. I always answered the same way. You can't rebuild trust with the person who taught you how to lose it. They'd nod quietly, maybe even envy how calm I'd become. Truth is, revenge wasn't loud or dramatic. It was walking away while she burned in the silence she created. As the seasons changed, so did I. I started dating again, slowly, carefully. I wasn't looking for perfection anymore, just honesty. Because once you've been betrayed, you learn to value the simple things. A text that means what it says, a promise that stays true, a love that doesn't need hiding. I don't regret exposing her that night. She mocked my trust, and I gave her exactly what she earned. Truth laid bare under golden restaurant lights. I didn't destroy her life. She did that herself. All I did was hand her a mirror and walk away. Now, when I look back, I don't feel bitterness, only strength. Because sometimes the greatest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living better, cleaner, and freer than the one who betrayed you. And that's exactly how I chose to end this story. Not with rage, but with peace. This is how my wife betrayed me. Should I forgive or move on? Tell me in comments. If this story hit home, drop a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe. Your support keeps these real stories alive.